Another smile gone forever. Another dream of God's lost. Don't wait another day to tell someone about the Lord. Don't wait another day to tell someone about Jesus. Another soul is lost. A mother's heart is broken. Another day is passing. Another chance is gone.
Am I still on?
Yes.
I am. Well, I was wondering, I want to share one verse of scripture with you, and then we'll ask some, I'll give you a chance to ask questions. The verse of scripture hurts me to read it because it slaps me in the face. And it talks to me directly, and it probably talks to some of you. Because God has asked each of us to talk to individuals. For some of us, He's called us to the mission field. For some of us, He's probably laid people on your heart at work. And if we don't tell them, we sound guilty. We sound accountable. And this is in Ezekiel. It's Ezekiel 3:18. When I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die, and thou givest him not warning, nor speakest to warn the wicked from his wicked way to save his life, the same wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at thine hand. So we're going to have to answer for the time that we waste. We're going to have to answer for the times that we don't share the gospel with individuals that the Lord has laid on our heart. And for me personally, I'm going to have to answer for 36 years that I've wasted. Now, the Lord forgives me for my sin, but I'm sure having a hard time forgiving myself. Because I'm sure, just think about it, there's people in your lives that God has laid on your heart, and you may not have shared the gospel with them out of being embarrassed or thinking it's not the right thing to do at work. But wouldn't you rather be able to see them in heaven with you than to know that they're going to spend an eternity in hell because you didn't tell them? And that's where I stand. I stand in front of you ashamed because I'm not one of these young missionaries who's hit the road and done what God asked them to do from the beginning. I wasted a huge part of my life. And there's probably people in hell because I didn't go when I was supposed to go. So for those of you who are young, like teenagers, I mean, you may have been to camp this year. I don't know when your camp is. But if God has laid the mission field on your heart, you should do it now. Because you don't want to stand here 30 years later, finally turning your life over to the Lord. Because you're going to have to live with the regret of knowing that there's people that didn't hear because you didn't tell them. So I want you to think about that. It's hard on me. And it's going to be hard on you later on if you don't do what God has asked you to do. Now, does anyone have any questions about the country of Ecuador? Yes, ma'am.
What is their major religion or
The major religion is Catholicism. It is Catholicism. Down in the jungle areas along the Napo River, they did have priests come in and they built some pavilions and then they left. And so there's a little bit of Catholicism mixed with some of the indigenous beliefs. But they haven't heard the truth of the gospel. Does anyone else have a question? Yes, sir.
Now, will you be mainly going into these villages, or will you be working in a specific city?
The first couple of years I've got to learn the language, and I don't know Spanish, and the missionary I'll be working with asked me to wait until I get there to learn the language. So the first 9-12 months I'll be doing that. And then Brother Glenn has a desire to start a school in the Quito area. So for a period of time, I'll be working in that area. And of course, when you start a school, you can teach English, you can do so much, and your textbook can be the Bible. What a perfect way to witness. And then in the jungle area, all of the churches there in Quito, there's a huge emphasis of supporting that church in the jungle. And so they go down at least 8-9 times a year to help the national pastor. So even though I'll be working in the Quito area primarily, and I don't know if the Lord's going to send me to the jungle or not, I will be spending time in the jungle quite a bit each year. Did I answer your question? Yes, ma'am.
now is that a large city?
The question was, is it a large city? Quito, and it's the capital city, so it's a very large city. Not like our large cities, but it's still a very large populated city. Does anyone else have a question? One question that's often asked is about my daughter, and I've already told you she's staying here, and that's going to be hard on me. I hope it's going to be a little bit hard on her. We'll see. Maybe she'll call me crying once. But, if you've spent your life running from God, and then you finally do what He's asked you to do, He's going to take care of her, and He's going to take care of me. And if I don't set the example now, how is she ever going to at least have an example for how she should live her life and follow God's plan for her life? There's no guarantees. We're all free will creatures. But hopefully I've set a good example. Does anyone else have a question? Yes, ma'am.
What are some of the challenges you run into being a single?
Well, I haven't actually lived on a mission field, but deputation, she asked, that's the first time anybody's ever asked me that question. What are the challenges of being a single woman on deputation? And the biggest challenge is just getting into churches, to share my heart, to share my testimony. That's been difficult. But you know what? God's called me. He'll put the churches there for me, and my job is just to keep calling. I wore out that Texas directory because my pastor asked me to stay in Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana, and I just keep calling and just keep calling. And just one humorous story. One pastor called me back and said, "You're persistent, so I'm going to let you come." And
How many times you called me? You called me 4 or 5 times.
I looked today.
Yeah.
I called 8 times.
8 times? They called me 8?
I did. I have the dates marked down because I don't want to call too often. So I give it a little time. But I called 8 times.
I really feel bad.
But you didn't answer every time. But one positive thing about your pastor and your assistant pastor is they called me back. And that is such an encouragement. Because even when they call me back and tell me they don't have a place for me, that means a lot to me. And I want to thank you for that. It means a great deal. Does anyone else have a question? Did I answer that fully? So if the Lord has laid missions on your heart, it's going to be harder for you, without a doubt. Because there are some churches who do not believe in single-lady missionaries. But there's scriptures. I mean, just look in Romans. And there's ladies that have helped all along. Now, should we preach? No. But we can definitely help. Does anyone else have a question? Yes, ma'am.
What about the money? What is the difference? I mean, is it
The question is about the money, and there's not a currency exchange. They use American money.
okay?
They use our paper money, and they have their own coins, but they prefer our coins to their coins. And it is a third world country. Just let me tell you a little bit about that. The average salary is about $98 a week, so you might as well just round it up to $400 a month. There's some that make considerably more and some that make considerably less. And that's one thing that I think makes their hearts so willing and so receptive. If you think about it, like the Philippines or any of these other countries, when we become spoiled with the world's riches, our hearts become harder. And in Ecuador, I don't know if any of you watch Home and Garden TV, that seems to be the new destination for Americans to retire. Well, if there's enough American money down there, then eventually their hearts are going to become hardened. And it's going to be harder to reach them. So the time to reach them is now. Does anyone else have a question?
What is their education system like?
Their education system, it's kind of a paradox. It's free, but they have to pay for their own books, they have to pay for their own uniforms, they have to pay for all their supplies, and when you make $400 a month, many people can't send their children to school. So that's another reason Brother Glenn wants to start a school there in the P.2 area. Does anyone else have a question? Yes, sir.
What is the biggest push besides the Catholic Church? Because I know a bunch of countries around, they're having a problem with like Mormonism, Jehovah's Witnesses pushing their way in.
That's beginning to be an influence there. It's not a major influence, but it is beginning to be. Mormonism, Jehovah's Witnesses. So we need to go now. And we don't have that many missionaries in Ecuador.